We live. Why you muted, bro?
Trying to be ratchet. He can't turn. Can you turn the ratchet off at any time? Like, how does that work?
Who?
You.
He said you be ratchet all the time.
Can you like just hit the switch, or how does that work?
The same way y'all hit the fucking switch. Ain't y'all supposed to be professionals?
Hey, my brothers from different mothers. How's life been?
Can't call it, bro.
There's been emotional in some senses.
Yeah, man. It's a lot of things have transpired since our last conversation, man. This is why I love the platform that we have and the different diverse backgrounds and experiences we have, because I think what we're going to talk about tonight, we all kind of lend a certain level of expertise and a certain level of position on tonight's subject. And we're going to talk about some mass shootings, particularly the two that has been covered most as of recent in the media, which was the one in Buffalo at the grocery store, and then the one in Uvalde, Texas, at the elementary school.
You got one more. You got one more, bro. Same day, Orange County had people at church.
Yeah, Orange County, people at church. But that's why I said the ones have been covered most by the media. And the reason I say that, because, man, there's so many, right? What's the statistic on how many school shootings? I mean, how many mass shootings we've had this year?
You mean the overall number?
Yeah, what's the overall number?
Was it like 216, something like that?
Thought it was 311. What you have with the 311?
No. Oh, actually, so as of right now, let me be more clear. It's been 311,000 experiences up to this date of mass shootings, and that's between Columbine up to now. So that's a lot of experience right there. Well, not experience, but situations.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Like, it's almost like these things happen so often now. We kind of are starting to become desensitized to it. But I don't even think we become desensitized to it. I think as people, that stuff has your head hurting. You see too much of it, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it obviously it comes off as a form of vicarious trauma in which it causes you to feel like you're experiencing that trauma. We all, as parents, placed ourselves in that situation. You send your kids to school every day. That's the place that you feel, if they're not at home, that's the second safest place you feel your kids are going every day, in school. And so we have these situations happening in school, and it makes you a little anxious, about sending your kids to school. When you've already happened, my son was already out of school, so Lord knows how I would have responded had he still had to continue to go to school despite a situation like that, man. So those situations are difficult. But we have two counselors here, an educator, as well as someone who in law enforcement. So from you guys' perspective, we keep talking about what can be done here, but what really, what's the impact of these mass shootings? What do you guys think is the impact of these situations?
I guess I'll go. I mean, first you think as a parent before you think as a mental health professional. I think as a parent, man, I dropped my son off at daycare. He ain't at school yet. He at daycare, which is school. But my wife's in education, and she right around the corner. Like if I get the call, like, hey, they shooting up there at Blah Blah High School, I'm pulling up like the rest of the parents did, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going out. And I said I'm going out. I don't care who there, police, whatever. I got mine. Whatever they carrying, I got one of them too. Mm-hmm. So the sad part about it is, like, why do I have to think about that? My wife is at work and my son is at school. Why do I have to think about danger when it comes to that? That was my first thought. The second part about it in regards to Dewan's question is, damn, the world is so messed up. And that was a question I had for a long time. I'd have a kid till I was 37 because me and my wife contemplated, like, the world is so bad. Do we really want to bring another young black male or female into the world because the world is so freaking bad? Like, do we want to do that to somebody? You know what I'm saying? Subject them to that vicarious trauma that Juan talked about, that secondary trauma. Because I was crying. I'm gonna tell you right now, I was crying. I'm like, bro, this is real. I can't. Kids, they had no chance to save themselves. It was crazy, bro. I was messed up that day. I'm like, you know what? I woke up with having a bad day, and then that added to it. And I was like, man, that is crazy.
So I'll say, first of all, I'll piggyback where Jeff just left off. One, you got to imagine what was going on that day too. Earlier that day, we just had promotion. So everybody's happy, waiting to run home to their mom and tell them, hey, look at the little awards I got. So that kind of switch within a day to go from such highs to now extremely lows. And then you had parents that were arriving, not knowing what was going on, asking to be swabbed right there. Like, what? Like, there's so many mental things that's going on in that moment. And then finally, in regards to, what I, for the most part, experienced within that day up till now, my mindset works a lot with intersections. So, we as individuals, we have various intersections of ourselves. Not only are we Black men, but we're fathers, we're brothers, we're fraternity brothers. So you have multiple roles. So I'm saying that because in meetings that, I was having with various colleagues, you can sense that people that also were parents were just emotionally drained. And even bringing up the topics, you had people who just started crying within meetings because they emotionally couldn't connect to what took place. And then even though it's in another state, it's still in an educational setting. So people that work in education was like, wow, that could happen on our campus. So it's extremely touchy conversation when it comes to education because how we're talking about it can just happen at any point. So yeah, it's a scary situation in education when you're trying to consider, hey, we got to get ready to teach. It's like, no, how are we going to now also protect? And that's not something a lot of us are trained to do.
Yeah, I'll say, I mean, this is year 7.5 for me in law enforcement, being a police officer. I think I've seen some significant events, and I've not had anything that actually made me emotional, sad, or like that really captured me to the point of tears. Like I've been able to manage everything. But that next day when I went to the schools, just to kind of sit in front of the schools as the parents was dropping off their kids, just to let them know in the community, hey, we're here to support you guys. We're here. Especially at the elementary schools, I made it a point to try to get to all of them before the bell rang to start the school for today. Just watching all the parents just drop off their kids, no matter if they were Black, white, Hispanic, Middle Eastern, whatever their nationality was. As I watched them walk in and out of campus, it was the first time in my career that I actually cried related to my work. Just thinking about as a parent for myself, when my son asked me, hey, can you pick me up from school, or are you going to take me to this thing? And I tell him, oh, I can't do it today. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'll make up for it tomorrow. Or, oh, I can't be there. I got to work. I just thought about the parents that had that, right? Out of all of those kids, there's a parent that told their kid, I can't be there today, but I'm going to make it up to you this weekend. Oh, I'm not going to pick you up today, but I'll pick you up next time. Parents that told their children something like that. And because of that, just watching all of their faces, all I could see was the kids from that segment. So it got me. That was the first time in my career I've actually had something do that to me, and it did. So I was right there with Jeff. Probably one of the most emotional experiences I've had related to my work and personal life.
Man, I don't know, man. I think for me, there was a lot of anger associated with the situation. But hold on, Eric back. So before I go, I'm gonna let Eric chime in on the Uvalde situation.
What's going on? Y'all can hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I just actually leaving the gym from working out. Man, that situation, man, it's like, I mean, if you're a parent, it messes with you because those kids could have been your kids. I know people had things to say about law enforcement, but I always say you know that you really when you like situations like that really test who you are. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you can train, for so many hours a day for stuff like that. But then you can go years and years of not even really utilizing that training. And then all of a sudden, when it comes up, it ain't like, what I'm saying, you just automatically revert back to training. Some people get hit with a standstill, where they like, man, they get stuck, you know. So in this situation, I just think that, like when you're looking at a small town, I don't think they had the proper resources as like larger cities. I don't think they had a proper training like larger cities. So when that situation happened, it wasn't common. So I can see why the chief probably said stand down, and people was like, why the officers didn't go in? Because first and foremost, you're supposed to obey the chief, and then too in law enforcement, anytime a supervisor tell you something, it's one of the things, and you're supposed to do it regardless of what the situation is, right? You're really supposed to do it. And then if something blow up, they take the hit for it. They take the hit for it. And unfortunately, it's like that. You know, I experienced some stuff today, but I can't really talk about it. And it really messed me up. It messed me up, like mentally. When you think about the profession, and I can definitely understand why the public be feeling the way that they feel about the profession. Because every day, you know, I mean, I live in it, and then also I work in it. It's but that situation, man. I hate the Monday, what they call it, Taft Monday
Monday morning quarterback.
I hate the Monday morning quarterback, any of that, because it's hard to say. If you ain't in that situation, it's really hard to judge. It's hard to judge. You know, because the way I look at it, right, they going out with a handgun and not really, saying a rifle or AK-40 or whatever, AR-15. We all know handguns going up against a AR-15. You're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. No,
But
no
let's
body
circle
armor.
let's circle
No,
back to that, because that's
yeah,
that topic that you're getting ready to go into. I know that we're gonna get there somewhere there in a conversation. Let's hold that for a second.
okay.
That is a very good portion that we need to talk about, because it is. But I don't want to. If we could pause it and go back into it, let's just wait 1 second, because I know where you're getting ready to go, and that's
Yeah.
going to
But then
take
to
us
add
off.
to that, right? Sometimes I be thinking that America, right? When somebody die in the line of duty, they want to put you as a hero. But sometimes some of that can be prevented, like in this situation. But and it's related to what you want to hold off on.
Yeah, but I want to close it before we get there. I mean, I know we got
Right.
to get to that today.
The tricky part about it is, I think as a parent, mental health professional, for me, I think about how the long-term effects of it. I think when you think about Uvalde, people see it and they're like, oh, that happened. These kids, died. You had 19 kids, murdered, 2 teachers murdered. And then you had the husband who died from basically heartbreak, because his wife of 23 years passed away or was murdered. I think of the long term damage of how those kids from the age of 6 to 11, 6 to 12, their lives are forever changed and damaged. Right? They're there's several factors in which this traumatic experience will live with them and haunt them. There are kids right now who are probably peeing the bed because of their nightmares from what happened. When they hear a car backfire or they see a shooting in a movie, they're going to be triggered and it's going to cause them to have some emotional disturbances. Some of these kids, as a result, will need, medication for the rest of their lives. Some of these kids, will have acting out behaviors that 5 years from now, a school will forget that they were, a victim in this situation and try to deem them to have behavioral issues. this is going to have a lot of collateral damage to these kids, not to mention that community. Think about driving by that school. Think about living across the street from that school every day. Thinking about the kid who lived in that neighborhood, who plays across the street from that school every day, who was in that school, and how that affects them. So the impact of gun violence in our communities, mass shootings, school shootings, all that is an issue that affects people and their mental health and their well-being long after legislation has passed or hasn't passed, long after the schools have been cleaned up, remodeled, long after the next situation happened. And not even that, right? Because obviously Buffalo, think about going to the grocery store and getting groceries, and you're an elderly citizen, senior citizen, you're 80 years old, you'd have made it through Jim Crow, you'd have made it through a whole bunch of things, civil rights movement and all that. And on your day that you want to go and get some grocery stores, some psychopath decides they want to come in there on some racially motivated stuff, right? He only shoots you because you're black. They came in and he killed you. And he killed your grandma, right? He killed your wife of 60 years. He killed your great grandma, your auntie, your mother, right? People are not really thinking about the long-term effects that these type of things happen on people. Everybody's worried about, oh, well, I'm going to defend 2A. I want to be able to continue to have my guns, instead of realizing, man, these are psychologically affecting the people. I always say the problem with war in other countries is we create new enemies, right? You bomb, a village, you kill all the males in the village. Now the kids grow up hating America, and now you created a new breed of terrorists because of what you did to their families. Think about what we're doing to our own people, and think about the kind of hate and vitriol we're commuting, we're adding to the people who, again, are witnessing these things happen, man. So beyond the legislation and the ARs and the pistols and all that, the psychological effect is something that people are going to live with, for the rest of their life, man, and they're going to suffer from as a result.
Yeah, think about the little girl, bro. She had to put blood on herself and then act like she was dead. What 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old has a wherewithal for one? She's smart as shit. But imagine what she's gonna go through the rest of her life.
She's triggered.
Bro, she gonna outlast all of us, all the people that's in legislation, all of us that's on this platform, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully she does live longer than us. But in the real world aspect of it, she should live longer than us. But the shit she been through, she might not. She might be triggered by a whole bunch of other things that make her go on a whole other level, a different direction than what we're talking about. And I think what is important, because we were like, well, the legislator. But none of us are calling the legislators. None of us are calling the people at the goddamn on city hall or whatever that's local to us, or whomever our Congress people. We ain't making those calls. We got to start making those calls and be like, hey, we need something to change, bro. Whether it be the guns, the whoever, the whatever, the whatever it is, we got to start making the calls. Because if we don't, then it's going to be the same thing. And I get it. I get it where we're talking about, like, if we just take ARs off the table, then that might help. And I understand, like, if our brothers that are in law enforcement, Jacoby or E, walk up on somebody with a pistol and they got an AR, what E supposed to do? He can't. They gonna long range hit E. That 9mm ain't gonna shoot as far as that AR going. The AR going to football field. That 9mm going 25 feet.
Yeah.
So what is the law enforcement supposed to do in that point? I understand that too. And what E was talking about is one of the things, like, what can they do if they don't have the training, or that police department isn't big enough, or all the training isn't right, or the guns can't match up? Because that AR gonna hit you from afar. And I'm telling you, 223s, that's a big bullet, or 5.5, whatever them shits is. So it's one of them things, like, what can we do as a people? And it's a question that we got to pose as a group, and then a question that we got to pose as a culture, and a question that we got to pose as just American citizens, like, what can we do to change it? And I don't think it's just voting. I don't think it's just going to your local legislator. I think another thing too is, where's his parents at? Where's mama? Where's daddy at? Where you get that gun from? Where you get that money from? Because that gun ain't cheap. Where you get that money from? Y'all see them carry that big ass gun into the house?
Yeah.
You see that big ass, bro? That's a big ass gun. You see that big ass gun coming to the house?
So we're kind of past that point now.
Jacoby, that's a big ass gun, bro. I'm 5'6". That gun stand up the same size as my damn leg.
No, I'm not saying no. That is a very good question. I'm where you're at. We need to start policing are not necessarily policing, but we need to start going back to it takes a village mentality, right? Like now in the days that we live in, if your kid is out, prime example, if I'm at a graduation or at the movie theater and somebody kid is behind me kicking and stomping at their chair and throwing popcorn and shit like that, I'm gonna look and I ain't gonna say shit, right? Because we live in a culture now where most people aren't, if they're with their parents, if kids are with their parents, you're not gonna interject and be like, hey, can you stop that or things like that? You gonna mind your business. We live in a mind your business type of culture. But this is how mind your business type of culture ends up backfiring. You keep minding your business and minding your business till somebody else's business come and mind your fucking business while you at the grocery store. Till somebody else's business come and mind your business while your kids are at school on their last day of school. We have to get to a point where even when we're minding our business, we're interjecting in a way in which we don't let things go so long that we've kind of kept seeing red flags for that we don't address. Somewhere in his community, people saw those red flags and they kept saying, I'm gonna mind my business because that's not my problem, or I'm gonna stay away from that. Because it happens every day in the world that we live in right now. Shit. Luckily for us within our village or in our marriage and in our relationships, if there's a red flag with you or me, we call each other and say, hey, you doing all right? Your wife might call me, my wife might call you. We all check in on each other. But imagine those that go in those villages where they keep on minding their business till somebody kills themselves or they just are in a situation where their business, that person's business affects all of them. We got to kind of minimize that and don't let that prolong so long.
But see, that goes back to what Dewan was just sharing earlier, being desensitized. Like you're talking about, sometimes it's not really about minding your business. It's kind of like, oh, that's just normal activity. Like it's getting that bad to where people seen things, heard things, read things, but they're like, it's so normal now that what we gonna report? And then we live in a society like, oh, you reported that, but what was the result? And that's the other part that gets to me. What was the report? What was the result from you reporting that? Oh, we didn't really seen that as a threat, or wasn't really that much there. We all blew it off. So yeah, you mind your business because it's like, all right, if I report something, it ain't there.
I'm going against it. So what? The next day after that shooting, a young man had an AR-15 and an AK-47 out here in the DFW area. Somebody said, "Hey, I think I see this boy park this car over here, and he look like he about to walk into the school with these big ass fucking guns." Right. So what happened was they go to the school, they find that boy, they find that car, and they find the fucking guns. So you report some shit like that, somebody gonna say something or do something, hopefully. And in this situation, it worked.
Yeah, in that situation it worked, but I'm just saying that, and that's because people were hyper vigilant.
I'm saying they were hyper vigilant and they reported it though.
Right, but we're saying that, but I'm saying also, and I'm following what Jacoby just shared, and making the connection is people have become desensitized that when people are minding their business so much that they're not speaking up, and it's like, oh, it's desensitized now. It's normal activity, and then not to say they're right because they're not right at all. You got your senators then get up and say, well, look what's on TV. Like they're dismissing what really happened. Look what's on TV. So that becomes the rhetoric now. That becomes the narrative. Like, oh, this is just stuff that happens regularly. So then people return back to that mind your business mentality. So,
but that's the issue, though, Parrish, right there.
Yep, I agree. I agree.
And I'm gonna say this, and it may come off wrong, but just follow me. When we talk about these things, and you guys are talking about reporting, and you guys are talking about people, I say this not saying that I'm going to negate my job. I say this in all seriousness. Stop depending on fucking me. Stop depending on the school teacher. Stop depending on the principal. Stop depending on the legislator. Some of this shit that y'all are talking about that goes, oh, well, what was the ending result and stuff like that? Stop depending on these people in these positions to do that. You should be minding and monitoring and holding the kids down that you are accountable for in your community, in your village, in your household, first and foremost, before the police or anybody else interjects. A lot of these things happen with these new age parents and these new age teachers and these new age principals, these new age legislators, these new age cops, where the onus is put on somebody else. Man, get back to home base and handle your fucking business on your base. If it becomes too big, people will step in. But at the root of it all, people need to start managing and looking out for their home fronts. And that's where we have a huge disconnect at. You pass it on to me because I'm in uniform and you think I'm a problem solver of all problems.
RoboCop.
Yeah, you think when I get there, I'm a problem solver of all problems. You pass it on to Dewan, the therapist, and think that you give your kid 4 sessions that he is healed. He has been purified in a Tonka. You pass him on to parish and give him an educational plan and thinks that now that he's an honor roll student, he's a model fucking citizen. That is not true. Manage your children, manage the people that you are responsible for, not from just their disadvantages, but from what you want them to have in life, what they need to have as core values. A lot of these people lack someone managing their core values, whether it's mental health or not. They pass the problem on, expecting it to get fixed, and they keep passing it without necessarily dealing with that head on. I'm not going to be able to solve every problem head on. You're not either. We need people in the homes that are responsible for people to start stepping in a little bit more and putting their foot down. And that's not happening in a lot of home fronts.
So you're saying, because you're saying hold the parents accountable for situations that transpire like this.
I'm not Uncle Ronnie that comes over, that got a good relationship with little Johnny. That motherfucker's responsible. Auntie Cheryl, they got a good relationship with that daughter. She's responsible. That grandma that you love and you put high on that pedestal, she's responsible. That big brother, that mentor, all of the people that have
not the big brother. I only see that kid once a month.
I'm not talking about the big brother program. I'm talking about the real big brothers.
I only see my guy once a month because I don't know what
I'm talking about real big brothers and real big sisters. I'm saying those are the people that are the initial frontline people responsible in these situations. If my kid comes out not being the type of model citizen that I want him to be, it's not going to be because the fucking police were the issue. It's not going to be because his school was the issue. I'm putting that shit on me. I'm the quarterback of his future. And if I don't get him into the end zone, that's my fault. That's his mom's fault. That's y'all's fault. We're responsible for these kids, and ultimately all these fucking weirdos, and that's what the fuck they are. They're fucking weirdos. Going out there and doing that shit, their families are not being held responsible, not doing the job that they need to. And I don't give a fuck what flack we catch for it. Get on your fucking job and manage the kids in your household. Do something instead of letting them go out in the world and then letting CNN and Fox News and BET and Black Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter dissect them on Monday after the shit didn't happen. Get on your fucking job.
I like it.
Hey,
there's a lot of challenges in there, though.
I like it.
There's a lot of challenges in there.
Go ahead, E.
Hey, Taff, I think with what goes on in today's society, right? A lot of parents, just that make ends meet, they work a lot, you know what I'm saying, then they get home, they're tired. In addition to that, you have technology that everybody pretty much almost treat like a second job. Everybody got to be on social media, you know what I'm saying, on their spare time. So a lot of households, they not really putting in that quality time with these kids. A lot of parents nowadays, they think that just because they provide a home, you know, provide clothes, shelter, food, that they actually, you know, and they dare, you know, like fathers and mothers, that they actually doing a job. They don't understand that. No, you know, you have to sit down and hold the meaningful conversations with these kids. You know what I'm saying? You have to get in their business. Sometimes you have to just open up a cell phone and see what they got in their phone. How many parents we know that just randomly just take, you know, the kid's cell phone and see what they got? How many parents we know that randomly just monitor their social media? In my opinion, I think that social media should have a parental, one of those parental rights stuff to it, where you have to be a certain age. You know what I'm saying? And your parents actually have to put in some type of code to say, you know, to show that they, you know, they allow you, you know, saying to be on social media, you know. And I mean, you know, it's just crazy, man. It's like technology in the world is actually controlling our babies, you know. And then to touch on what y'all mentioned, like law enforcement, and y'all mentioned like, you know, mental health. And people come, they do a couple of sessions, and they think that the person's supposed to be healed. Like when in law enforcement, right? When I go to people's little houses and stuff, right, I will always tell them like, yo, you know your person, you know the situation better than me. This was going on way before I met you. You know what I'm saying? So you tell me how y'all want to handle this. You know, you think I'm gonna walk in? I'll be like, look, man, you know your kid better than me. You know, you tell me like what it is that you need to do as a parent to try to help your kid. Don't come to me and I just met you, and a minute ago, and think that, you know, I'm supposed to, you know, dissect your issues. In addition to that, they don't really teach us how to dissect issues. They just teach us how you enforce the law. You have to use common sense and experience to actually dissect issues.
Yeah.
Point blank period. Like now, right? I see so many mental health issues daily. I ain't been to no school. Guess how I'm able to kind of cope with it and deal with it through some of the mental health, you know what I'm saying, sit downs and being around, you know, Dewan and Jeff, and we talking about certain stuff, you know what I'm saying? Some of the little, you know, some of the events and stuff that Dewan invited me to, I'm listening. And then it's like some of the stuff I heard in those events, I'm like, wow, that's what I'm dealing, you know, that's what I'm dealing with now, you know? Dude, when I tell you mental health is at its all-time high, I literally deal with somebody at least twice a day that's mentally messed up. Depression, schizophrenic, bipolar, anxiety, something. I'm like, God, Lee. And honestly, I wasn't trained to deal with this. I
So,
wasn't trained.
and that's what I was going to say. Like, now flip it the other way. If you got people that are in law enforcement that are trained at least to carry certain arms, are trained in certain ways to engage, but then, you know, on the flip side, somebody in the educational field, we're like, okay, I can engage with somebody, but if it comes down to the physicality of it, they're not ready for that. So that's where the expertise is like, okay, you guys, we can do some of your job, but there's no way that some people can do the other person's job. So it's like we need that law enforcement to come in and say what to do next here, because I ain't never negotiated a hostage situation, or I ain't never really took a gun, and you know, some people are in that situation. I never really had a gun to fire back. So I see what you guys are saying from the law enforcement side, but going the other way it's difficult. If you ain't never been in those situations before, how you gonna know, like, oh, this is, you know what I'm saying? And when we talk about, well, armed teachers, what they gonna do any different? They ain't never really, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you're saying arm them or have them take up that responsibility, you're putting them almost at a disadvantage.
Not mine. She ready.
Well, well, yeah, because she probably been around you long enough to she's like, yeah, I'm ready to shoot. But you got to think about somebody, like, say you got somebody who just started teaching, and now I got to know how to handle a gun too. I'm not probably going to be successful in them situations.
Well, one of the problems, well, two parts, right? I think Tav hit it on the head when he talked about, your village. Where's your village? And did your village check on you, right?
Can I be Can I
Some
be
people don't have a village.
All right, Jacoby.
Can I be Jacoby again? They already want to fire me. They really do.
All right.
So if y'all could please just go back to that, because they probably looking right now waiting for one.
Larry.
I just like to be Jacoby again.
Right. So,
but Dewan, when you say a village, in some situations they don't have that.
well, no. But let me kind of
this situation. He really didn't have a village.
I think some of them don't, but most of them do, right? You know, there are some people who are born in a vacuum, but your village doesn't have to be your blood. Your village can be your community, right?
Could be.
You know, unless they live out in the rural America in the middle of the woods somewhere, they have a community. And what I mean by that, I think, Jacoby hit it on the head. Like, okay, you the neighbor. You see this little kid out here weird, killing cats. Do you ever talk to the kid, make sure he's good? Like, have conversations with him, show him some interest, give him some attention. Here's the reality. The reality is we live in a world that is becoming more and more expensive to live in every day, right? Milk's going up, gas going up, cost of houses going up. Back in the 60s, you could afford to live in a nice area, go to a nice school on one income. So one parent didn't have to go to work. A lot of times it was the wife who was staying home, raising the kids, but that's not happening anymore. And so what happens is both parents are working, both parents are on their computers when their kids get off of school. Those kids are left to go and get on their devices for hours, right? So you a kid in the beginning, you scrolling on YouTube and you watching, little cartoons and stuff like that, Dragon Ball Z, all that. But over time, as you get older, that little video popped up there and they start talking about guns and all that. And you become interested, right? Because kids like guns, especially you got a little son. And then they start getting conditioned, radicalized by the videos that they see, because as E said, no one is going to go check those devices. No one's going to check their search history. What are they looking up on YouTube, right? So I think a lot of it starts with parenting and parents doing that extra little thing, that extra little 10 minutes out your day to go in and sit in there in your kid's room and have a conversation with them, to get their devices at the end of the night and check their devices, right? Because here's the issue. If the device is wiped clean, then that means, okay, so now you're clearing your history. What are you clearing your history for? I'm taking your device. Because obviously whatever you looking I can't see, right? So I think there's ways that parents can be more involved. Then there's another component. P, cool. So yeah, we can't arm teachers because you gonna have teachers that got mental health issues too, right? What if a kid slams a book on the ground? That teacher was involved in a shooting before at another school. They hear that sound, they automatically pull their gun out and they point their gun at kids. What if that teacher witnesses a fight in the classroom, and because they're scared, they pull out the gun and point the kid, the gun at the kids or things like that. So I don't think that's the answer to arm teachers.
Right.
What we really need to be asking ourselves is, as a society, what can each individual do to contribute to make sure that our families and our neighborhoods are safety? Another question, and maybe my two brothers in law enforcement can help me understand this. Why, as an individual citizen, would I ever need to buy body armor?
I thought that was illegal though. And then your answer. Let me know. I thought it was illegal.
I mean,
why do I need to buy body armor?
There's a lot of different
legal body armor. If I'm going into a military surplus store and I'm buying body armor, there should be a red flag. Why?
I thought it was illegal to buy body armor.
Right. I thought it was. Well, is it depending on the state?
First?
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, I need to look that up myself because I'll tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this though, DeJuan. You know Shorty, right? Shorty had a tenant that lived in one of his buildings, and he went to evict his tenant. His tenant boyfriend made a comment that when he sees Shorty, that he was gonna handle up. Shorty would not go to his building to collect rent, none of that. And even when he went to make sure they was that they was moved out, he ended up buying a bulletproof vest because of how crime is in the city of Chicago. He literally went and bought a vest, bro, and had it on underneath his shirt because he was just nervous. And he walked and he went. He would always go to his property with his gun, So he did it. You say what?
But I'm just saying, if you guys got to register, you got to get registered for guns, but you can't get registered for certain.
So I see it. It's state by state. It's state by state.
There are certain states that don't
in
allow
California. You can't go buy a bulletproof vest in California.
It's state by state. California letting you do it. Texas, you can get it. Yeah.
But
that's what I'm saying.
But this is the thing about that, though. I mean, just like there's illegal guns all over the street, right? And I don't think that can be controlled at all right now. Whether you can go in a store and buy body armor, or you can find a way to get.
But you got to go buy bullets most of the time.
But what I'm saying is that. I mean, is that even true though? I mean, you can be street. I'm just saying, at this point, all of these weapons are available, and it's not going away anytime soon. You ban ARs at this point, right? Because I keep hearing everybody talking about, well, ban AR, ban AR. You don't think people are going to find another favorite gun to go and shoot up schools if that's what they're into? They'll find a substitute. And the other portion that it is that at this point in time now, with this 3D printer shit, you can make.
You can get a ghost gun. It's a ghost gun.
So what I'm saying is that the gun thing, it's not going to really go away. The body armor.
No, but you do have to take that into account, though, Jacoby. All this mass shooting shit been ARs, though, bro. You cannot deny that, though.
No, I can't. It's true that seems to be the gun of choice for most of these situations. It seems to be an AR-15 or some type of AR style weapon. So it does appear to be that. I'm just saying that. I mean, we can ban it, right? And eventually, slowly but surely, you'll find people, cops will get them off the streets. But now that you have these 3D printer people, really, where you cut one off just to get two to grow in the morning is what I'm saying.
But I don't think it's a zero-sum game, right? So I don't think in order for change to happen, it has to be all or none, right? Yeah, I think it starts with, okay, well, first of all, let's look at the age limit, right? Why would an 18, 19-year-old need to be able to buy a rifle? Let's look at that. So yeah, we could ban ARs and they could use something else. But if we ban, the purchasing of rifles in general
by age, right? Or by need,
by age or need, or unless you've gone through this training that you have to go through, and you have to do these continuing education aspects to a training, similar like if you're in the military and you get trained in certain weapons, you have to come back and constantly get retrained in those weapons, right? So if a person has to go through all this training, right, they got to get their stuff registered, all that stuff with the FBI, then they got to go through all these trainings because they're hunters and they want to have these guns for hunting purposes. Cool. Now there's a certain level of responsibility that you have about holding these weapons, and there's an investment associated with having this weapon. Now, with that,
and there's one more piece to that. Wait, there's one more piece. I don't want to cut you off, but there's one more piece to that too. That piece is you also can hold accountable the person that sold them that weapon, that stuff, because now they can really track it. So go ahead and continue. But I'm just saying you're putting on that person, but also it's now who got it to them. So then now if it's outside that whole legal realm, then it's another different kind of conversation.
But yeah, I mean, you got to think about other countries. Like I was reading like somewhere like Sweden or something like that. There was a whole lengthy couple month long process associated with buying a gun. Now, for some people, they're going to say, the contrarian is going to say, well, okay, I still can do a school shooting. I just got to go through the process. What that's going to do, though, it's going to make it harder and make it more difficult for certain people to do it, right? Because again, we're talking about a lengthy process. You know, the reason that police, when police pull you over and that you flash your gun license, it makes them feel like you're a responsible citizen. So you flash your gun license, they're like, oh, okay, Mr. Bennett, go ahead about your business because you have a gun license. Obviously, you have no warrants, you have nothing. It makes you feel like you're a responsible citizen. And as a person who has a gun license, I try to be responsible with my firearm because I had to go through this lengthy process in order to be able to get a license. What I'm saying is there can be things that can be done that is minimizing, use of ARs, not having body armor. Because again, these fools is walking with body armor. Like in Buffalo, the security guard couldn't stop the dude because he had on body armor. Again, why does a normal citizen need to have body armor? Again, the Shorty example was a good example to why a normal citizen would want to buy body armor. But what justification, other than to use it against another human, did the citizen have body armor? You don't need it for hunting you. Them pigs ain't shooting at you.
Yeah.
The birds ain't shooting at you.
I'm with you. I do like this whole continued education thing. I think that's really, really important. Another part that you talked about was the age limit. And I was thinking about it too. When I was 18, did I come across like 2 bands? No. And I worked since I was 14. I ain't come across 2 bands of buying no AR-15 or whatever. I was buying Jordans, Air Force Ones, and taking women out. So I wasn't having the money to go and buy a $2,000 worth of
buying women.
Stupid. I wasn't doing none of that. Stop it. I didn't have the money to go out and buy a gun like that. And then 2, like I love the education part. I like the talking about like going through the process of all that, background checks and all that too. But I think there's another layer too, and maybe our law enforcement brother can talk about it too in regards to the body armor. Like, should there be like some kind of like across states? Like, do we need to get like something across states to where everything's equal when it comes to like getting a gun license and to buy purchasing a gun? Do y'all think that should be something like, don't make Texas be like Wild Wild West and everybody else can't have guns? What do y'all think about it just being flat across the board? Like,
no,
it needs to be flat across the board.
I don't know if that's
so yeah. And let me tell y'all something too about how this gun stuff works. So, Jeff, when you go out, say for instance, you purchase a gun from a caddy, right? That serial number and all that's going to be connected to you.
My name, yeah.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden you decide
I just had 2 guns stolen because of this guy.
Listen, now say for instance, right? You want to trade a gun with me. Say you want to trade a gun with me, right? You trade it with me. I heard you. Look, say you trade a gun with me, right? You trade it with me, knowing that I'm in good standard, because that's what they say. They say you can't knowingly give a gun to somebody that's not doing right. You know what I'm saying? They got background.
You can give it to them though, right, Eric? You can give it to them.
Yeah, like you don't need no bill of sale, no nothing. You can just give it to. We can just trade guns, or you can just give it to me. Now all of a sudden, I turn around, I pass it off to my little brother. My little brother turn around, pass it off to one of his homeboys. His homeboys turn around, sell it to one of the homies in the hood. Boom, that gun is now in a murder. They run a serial number come back to Jeff. Yeah. Jeff say he gave it to Eric. Eric say he gave it to him. And then it's like now they got to try to keep up. Now all of a sudden, this one, you got somebody down that chain of command with a gun. All of a sudden say, hey, look, man, I just noticed that gun was stolen. Right. Because that's usually what people say. I didn't even notice it was stolen. Once the police come knocking on their door. And how can you prove that they didn't know?
I mean, you can't wait, Eric. You can't prove it, but dang, how you just outlined that though? That's Jeff's gonna be responsible. He gonna be like, "Oh snap, dude! If I do this,
I'm responsible." Just the way that we just handled this other situation, I reported it and they were gone.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, the fact that it started with Jeff is like, man, if y'all do something, shoot, it got to come back to me. I'm part of that village now. I gotta be responsible on who I get this to.
But
Right,
hold
right.
on.
But once he give it to me, right, he gave it to a responsible party. Now I turn around, I give it to my brother who I'm thinking responsible.
What
And
he
he
talking
give it
about
to
is
him,
what
I
he
wasn't
talking about is like a wholesaler. So
Yeah.
if you go to like one of the dealership place, like them gun shows, they're not doing a background check at a gun show. They just you got the gun.
Yeah, but
Right.
what you guys are saying is like, why not have those? Jeff, once you let that gun go, you should be like, here's the bill of sale, boom, boom, boom,
Sure.
to this person.
They don't do that though.
Right.
But it
That's
appears
what I'm
that
saying.
out
We need to
there,
make some kind of playing field. Go ahead, Jacoby.
I do like the even.
And wait, let me say one more thing too. We're talking about educating kids in general. We have sex ed in schools. You tell me we can't do other ones? They can't have other ones?
We should.
I'm just saying.
They got too many history classes in school. They need to
But
replace those history classes with mental health classes. Nah, for real, they need to replace some of those classes with social and emotional wellness classes.
Right.
How many times you gonna learn
social studies?
Yeah, but I mean, I guess the school's thinking is
Come on, Jacoby.
You're more likely to bust a nut than you are a gun. I mean,
Jacoby. So what's the thing, bro? Flat across the board. What you thinking? What we doing? What should we do?
I think that there's some value in the fact that in Texas, you guys don't have those issues, though.
Why? Why is that?
I'm saying like you guys, it would appear that you guys, because you're open carry states like Texas and Tennessee, that the violence and gun violence rate, it seems to be a little bit better where you guys.
We're number 2 on the mass shooting list.
Yeah, I was gonna say we just
Texas here.
But are we just talking mass shootings, or are we talking about the psychological?
It was
okay,
mass shootings.
It's mass shootings.
Well, hold on. Time out, because that's a good point. Look. Let me tell y'all something.
I'm just saying that's a really good point.
Go ahead, then, Gumby.
So Texas has this assumption that if everybody has guns, it limits crime.
Gun violence. That ain't true.
It's not. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we're number 2. Number 1 is California. Number 2 is Texas. Number 3 is Florida. Now, the obvious are those are the 3 most populated states. California being 1, Texas being 2, Florida being 3. But here's the reality. They all have varying different levels of gun laws. California has very strict gun laws. Texas has not strict gun laws, and Florida is kind of somewhere in the middle, right? But they all have the same issue. They're all on the top 3 list. Now, Jacoby, the crazy part about it is we don't even really know the real numbers in a state like Texas because the state is majority rural. So Joe Buck, who shot Sally Sue with a gun out in rural Texas, those crime numbers never really make it.
They get lost.
Right? They're looking at inner city. So when they are talking about blacks and violence, that's because 65% of black people live in the inner city. And they're not even talking about what happens in rural America that nobody knows, that nobody reports, that these things are happening. So that's what I'm saying. Like, these things are going to happen because people innately they lack humanity. But my bad, Tav.
I mean, that you kind of covered what I was going to go into anyways. I say Eric has a good point. It is something to at least look at. I would assume, yes, based on what I see, that you guys that live in Texas and to be an open carry state, there is something or some type of psychological notion that goes with he may have a gun and I have a gun. So, how far do we want this to go? But like you guys are saying, it's people that live in Texas. That's not necessarily the case. So, I mean, Eric, the way Eric explained it may lead to something. It's such a big problem and it's damn near like a Rubik's Cube. You know what I'm saying? It's not something you just normal people can solve or put together very quickly. I think it's a lot of different researchers and a lot of different opinions that have to be brought into how we can really fix that problem.
But here it goes back to when there's a problem in the system, let's at least start to address it. But what we tend to do is like, oh, there's a problem in the system. All right, we'll just let it continue to fly. I mean, we just outline various ways that things can at least start to get researched and get an outcome from it. But you don't have to just go, all right, we know there's these issues and we know that there's a possible way to address it, but we just won't. So like you said, if there's a way to address how these guns are registered and who they get to, then do it. Why not look into it?
The thing about that Parrish, is it's a thing with the George Floyd bill. It's been sitting there for 2 years. They're not going to change it because you know what happens? The NRA is freaking powerful, bro. They all got the bread. It just comes down to money. This country is all about money. It ain't about humanity. It's about money.
It ain't about religion.
It ain't about nothing
They
but
brother
money.
I mean,
Money.
we all know that. We're
Money.
just trying to say what's the solutions.
So
I mean,
Go ahead. Go
Hey,
ahead.
Dewan, look, I was calling you right before you invited me on. I'm gonna go ahead and share this. So I was put on an investigation, right? One of the penalties stated that conduct unbecoming. So I had one of the homies. He seen me, ain't seen me in a minute. So we were like, what up, my nigga? Do you know, bro, that they pretty much wrote me up saying that I was using racial slurs. Racial slurs. So for instance, right, if I was ever had to testify or if I ever got in trouble, somebody was to pull my background and all they see is racial slurs.
You use the N-word, you was in trouble?
Listen, bro. Yeah.
hey,
Could I say, what up, my nigga?
as a black man to another black man, you
Right.
said, "What up, my nigga?" And
Yeah.
some white man
Deem that to be inappropriate.
I know,
wrote you up.
inappropriate, right? Then turned around and wrote it up and said that I was using racial slurs. That's all they said. So just think, right, Jeff? If you was to pull my background and my disciplinary history, right, and used to read that I was using racial slur as a black man, right, or just say as a white person, what would you immediately think?
Sure.
That I was talking about a white person, right?
Or that you
Well,
use
I was
racial
talking-
slurs in various areas. Like
Right.
you use them.
You said what again?
You
That
using
you
it in
use-
every
you
you
use
using it in
racial-
every realm of life. You using
Yeah,
it
it doesn't
in
have
every
to
realm of
be. It doesn't have to be one-on-one with somebody of the same
Right.
ethnicity. It can be anybody.
Right. But for them to have that associated, right, and just say racial slurs, that lead the audience to interpret whatever they want to interpret. You know what I'm saying? Instead of writing exactly what was said, quote, what up, my nigga, to another black person.
But that's
I would
the problem.
It's
I would
But
think, right, that you would do that.
wait
That
a
you
minute.
would write it out like that, right? But all
Wait a
they
minute.
put was racial slurs, bro.
Go ahead.
Dog,
Go
that
ahead.
can give a
Hey,
person.
first of all, what that got to do with mass shootings?
No,
Bro.
no. I think with
And that's a great ass topic, but that's a whole nother show because
No.
I see what he
The
said.
reason why I brought it up, right, bro, is because if y'all understood the internal stress that officers go through when they get put in situations, right, sometimes they can't even think straight behind internal stress, bro.
bringing it back. I like that for sure.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
knew where he was going, fool.
But
Everybody knew where he was going except for
Just
you.
think, bro. Just
didn't.
like seriously, right? Just think, right? I just get done dealing with that, and next thing you know, my next call is a mass shooting at a school. I'm still teed off about this. How I supposed to get my head in the game, bro? I'm human.
So then,
So-
okay, as officers, right? Both of you guys have over 20 years combined together in law enforcement, right?
30 years.
So then what? Because to be honest, this is probably one of the situations where, okay, let me preface this properly. I, Dewan Bennett, don't blame police because I believe police are human beings. So I give police the same benefit of the doubt that I give a regular person. So I also believe police lie. I believe police steal. I believe police do corrupt things. I also believe police care for people. Some help, some don't. I believe them to be human beings, right? So I know as a human being, there's somebody in a building with a gun that can kill me. Self-preservation. People are going to take care of themselves first. I understand that. Now, as law enforcement officers, understanding what I just said, that I believe police to be human, how could law enforcement play a better role in protecting the citizens from these mass shooters?
Well, first, I think that we got to talk about the fact
Wait a
that
minute.
I think you're talking about the fight or flight thing, but
Hold on. You're the negotiator, so you better negotiate right.
and yeah, because
Y'all know. I
My
don't.
man
right now, I'm like, come on. Ooh.
First of
He
all,
is
I think
in negotiations. Let's get this right. Let's go.
Long enough for y'all to know I'm definitely not about the bullshit, y'all, because y'all know I don't even care.
You negotiated, bro. Let's get it.
But let's go with this though. I think first what we got to talk about, and what Dewan is saying that we need to discuss with the Uvalde situation, even if we got to go overtime, is the whole fight or flight thing. Them standing down, or did they go into school and only get their kids out and then waited? Was there a hero from the community that jumped in there while the police sat on the sideline? Did the border patrol agent? We first got to discuss all of that, because I think that's the preface to what you're talking about. But to answer your question, you're basically saying, are we human, right? Like, is there a human aspect that deters us from doing our job? Or rephrase that question so I make sure I hit all the points.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, and actually, Kobe, there was a mother who drove 40 miles into the school, was pepper sprayed, handcuffed, talked herself out of the handcuffs, hit the fence, went in there and grabbed her kids out of the school. She's a hero, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
We want her to grab some more kids with her. I don't know if she did or didn't.
The same thing.
What I'm saying is, what can be done? Because we talked about this, right? I know one of your dream jobs with going into law enforcement was to become a resource officer, right?
Yeah, they probably gonna get me out of that though. Let's talk about something else.
And the reason I'm saying that is because I'm thinking about what can be done from the law enforcement perspective that can better equip or better prevent or help minimize school shootings, because they have a war on drugs.
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, stop and frisk is a war on black people. Where is the war on mass shootings?
So let's go here and say this first of all, because you did get to a good point about it, and it's just real. There are a lot of people that wear badges and uniforms and have guns on their hip that will tell you how they've been in a fight at work and they were chasing this guy and they hopped the fence to go and get the bad guy and all of this and that, and they're soft as fuck. Like, let's just call it spade a spade. There are a lot of people that make it sound a lot more bigger and they're a lot more tougher than they really are, and they're really not. And that's something that has to be addressed. The other portion of that is that there is a lot of people that haven't had their fight or flight tested yet. They really think they're about this shit, right? That they'll go in a building and risk their lives for somebody until they get put in a situation where they actually have to come face to face with that. And I can tell you right now that I truly believe that just because people are police officers and they have taken that oath, there is a significant amount of people that walk around doing this job every day that think they're about that moment until that moment comes to them. You just don't know until you've had that moment really actually come through and you've been affected by that. I don't think everyone can truly say that they really know that they'll respond to those type of things. I think it does come down to kind of what you said in the beginning, though. What is your heart? I know for me, I am passionate about children. And I know for a fact, 110%, if it comes down to me running into a building to save someone else's children, I'm willing not to come home to my family or my child for that. Like, that is one of the things that wakes me up about the job, that I know that I'm willing to go into a building and lay it all on the line for. The other things I ain't really too scared of, but I do have different thresholds that I think actually really, really highly motivate me to do those things opposed to others. And I think if anyone was to tell you anything different, they're lying or hiding behind the badge or the shield or the oath that they took, but they're not being really true to what they really would do if they're personally put in that situation. So yes,
what I was going to say was this. Wait, I was going to say this real quick. Jeff.
Go ahead, P.
Jeff.
Go ahead.
You had a time period where you wanted to be in the fire department.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, for sure.
What was your mindset? What was your mindset? I'm gonna be in this fire department. What's your mindset? If the fire broke out, I'm going to be in the fire department. So my mindset is, when a fire breaks out, I'm going to.
You know, we shoot the water from outside the building, right?
Right. But you at least go into the building, or you go towards the building. No,
not everybody goes in there.
No, not everybody.
Not everybody goes in, but your mindset is, I'm going to deal with fires, right? Let's make it very basic.
There is a fire, and the mindset is, hold on, how what is this? So what they're going to say is, what is the construction of this building, right?
Okay.
Is this shit about to go down? Is it over with? Is it burned down?
Right.
first. So we're gonna think about personal safety first, which is law enforcement. The same thing. Think
Okay.
about, these people got to go home. They got to go home, right?
Right.
All right, just burn it down. No, can we save somebody in there
Right.
without losing one of us? Let's do it.
Okay.
If we can't, then sorry. And then it's like, can we do something from the outside?
Okay.
Right? The situation when you value, it can't do shit from the outside. You got to go in there because the situation is inside.
Right.
That's the difference. You made me mess up what I was going to say about you.
No, the reason why I bring that up is because DeJuan asks a very, what can we do?
Nah, Nicole asked a good question. Nicole says, so
Exactly.
y'all not gonna think about the people inside first. So you chose a job to serve the people, but you thinking about yourself over people.
I like it. First off, and I was gonna ask Jacoby that. She took the words right out of my mouth. Great job, Nicole. I like it. I love it.
P World.
Everybody is not signing up to lose their life.
Of course
No, not.
No, but I'm gonna say that first, and I'm gonna ask you though. When you walk into there with, I don't think you have a partner, but when you interact with the people that are part of your department, do you feel like there are certain people that's gonna risk their life to save the lives of other people, or you like, you know what, he ain't really like that, or you know what, I'm not really like that, or our department is not really like that, because it could be the thing of the department is like, we got to make sure we send these men home because we don't want to pay that severance package. We don't pay that. We don't want to pay that pension. We don't pay that insurance. We don't pay any of that for the rest of these kids' lives or whoever the hell he got in his family life for forever.
Hey, but
So,
hey,
hold on.
Going back to DeJuan's question. DeJuan's question.
It is.
No, so let me answer that though. So
Right. Because you broke it down, Jeff, as a fire department, this is how we think.
but I can so let me say this for the department purposes, right? And like I told y'all, I'm pretty sure I'm on the list. I'm always on the list. I'm not going to speak on my department specifically, but I will say something that I think covers the whole blanket of all of us. Y'all already know when it comes to my job, a lot of the things that I do is community-based. I love interacting with people. I try to do things to build up the community, to interact with people. I'm a people person type of cop. I will still take you to jail, and if it comes down to you or me, it's probably going to be you if it's a life or death situation, you threaten my life, but I'm a people person type of cop. I like to create options and save people than I do to try to put people in situations that are going to set them or their families back. But there is something to be said when we are in a job that's supposed to be helping people and you have a large group of people that will tell you, and this goes for all industries, but especially mine because it's social based, the community service based. If you have someone that says, it's a good pay, the pension's great, to me, that's a little something to be concerned about. All of us want money. All of us like money. All money creates resources for all of us. But if there's an aspect of you that speaks more about the dollars that are attached to that, how much are you connected to the people that you are serving? Are you there punching the clock, robbing that clock to go and do what you like to do? Or are you really there for the people? I can't say that everybody in the job came there or decided to become a law enforcement officer because they wanted to make a difference in the community and they're here to save people. That's the cute answer. That's the answer that sounds right. That's what you say when you're in the interviews. But I don't necessarily feel that everyone comes to work and does that.
But that's the thing, though. Like, same thing. My bad, DeJuan, before you go. That's the thing with the thing about it, Pierce. I think a lot of it comes down to like the bureaucracy of it is like, how many people do we want to send home? How many people we want to like to have them flags on their graves? And when the thing what I was doing with the fire department is they always talked about is we got to make sure these dudes get home because they don't want to pay the pension. They don't want to pay the death penalty or whatever they want to call the shit, death, whatever benefits.
Death benefits.
Yeah, death benefits. They don't want to give that shit off. They want to be like, you know what? Unfortunately, that building burned down. Insurance company will pay for it. But if we lose people in that, then it's unfortunate, right?
But the priority of life should always be the citizens.
But it's not going to happen like that, bro.
I have something that could bring this home.
It's not going to happen like that.
Hey, when y'all go to a restaurant, right? And y'all have a rude waitress. What's one of the first things you say when the waitress is rude?
Let me talk to the manager.
Nah, not that. Damn, why she acting rude? Why she chose the job if she don't like dealing with people?
There you go.
Right? Why you pick this job if you don't like dealing with people? The job requirement says
exactly where my mind
you have to have customer service. You got to deal with people. So if I am a police officer or firefighter, I essentially chose this job One, because I'm here to protect and serve, right? So if I have to with
They
my
did it
armor
to
on
serve food. They ain't saving nobody.
and my gun,
Yeah, but
the expectation is the reason why people call 911. Hey, 911. There's some people that's breaking into my house. They got guns. 911, because they're expecting 911 to come and protect and save them,
the day.
right? Where the issue happens. Remember, I talked when I first started and said the long-term effects of this. The more and more we're seeing law enforcement go out and harm citizens. Now we're seeing between Sandy Hook and Uvalde, we see law enforcement not go into the school. Right? Hold on, that wasn't Sandy Hook. When the dude, what was one in Florida?
Florida. It was in Florida, Parkland, I think.
In Parkland, we see the law enforcement not going to school. Now people are distrusting law enforcement even more.
But I gotta intervene.
And I want to say that.
I gotta intervene for the field though. That we still need to keep in account that these are highly publicized events. The people that chose not to respond or react in those situations, in my opinion, as law enforcement, are still the minority. Those that come to work just for the check are still the minority. Me, myself, and the people that I think the majority of people that go into this job every day will go in there and save their lives. I mean, risk their lives for other people. I will. That's what I signed up for. When I walk out this fucking house and I see that it's still pitch black and things like that, and I hop in that car, I sometimes think, damn, I could not return today. Damn, I really might have FaceTimed or kissed this kid and his wife, everybody goodbye for the last time. I do think about that because I don't know what situation I'm going to encounter that's going to put me in that situation. But I do know I signed up for that shit and it's a dangerous job. I don't get to go pack a lunch and sit at a fucking cubicle. My job requires that on any given time of the day, I'm getting paid a handsome reward. And I might have to jump up from not doing much of anything that day to risking my life in the same moment. I'm okay with that. And I signed up for that. I'm good with the shit, plain and simple. I can't say everybody is of that mindset, but I will tell you that the Parkland person to me is a coward. And whatever happened to him, losing his job, criminally prosecuted, he gets whatever the fuck he gets. Uvalde, I don't want to speak because I don't have enough information about that. But I'm saying this, that in those situations that we're talking about, mass shootings at school, that is what we call an active shooter. In most interviews, if you say that you would not respond and neutralize a threat in an active shooter situation, you're probably not going to get a job because that is a question of how do you respond in the most critical situation, and are you willing to risk your life to save others in a very high critical situation, especially when dealing with children. And I don't think if you can do that portion of the job, you should be doing it. I do think the job is evolving. You're getting more tech people in it, more people that ain't built as tough as we are these days that might have to do things more to protect their mental space. However, if you can't do that core part of the job, this ain't the job you should be in because that shit could happen any given day. We didn't even know where Uvalde was a week ago. Now the whole world knows where it is.
Wait. I wanted to say this because when Dewan had brought up his piece, my mindset, and we all know that I am very combative when it comes to the law enforcement, but my mindset is, what's the training then? If you don't get it right when you're dealing with certain cultures, then you don't respond when there's something that's mass shooting worthy of attention. Like, what is the law enforcement doing in general?
I think it's this though, P. Dewan, you might be able to go. Just let me go real quick. Everybody got a SWAT team. So if y'all ain't got no fucking SWAT team, they probably got 10 officers on the freaking squad all together. So they don't got the train. When you talking about training, they ain't got a SWAT team or something to kick a door down or whatever the hell they want to do when it comes to that. I think it's one of them things of like they probably had 10 officers. They like, I gotta go home to my family, bro. Which is the bad part. I don't know, but go ahead, Gumby.
The more and more, it's like the trustworthiness as well as the questioning of like, how are we as citizens supposed to engage with our law enforcement when so many things is just questionable? It got me over here shaking my head a lot.
I think that you said, what's the training? I think, the military is trained properly in how to deal with these type of situations, right? And I'm not saying that, all police need all military training, but that constant training and field-based type training and things of that nature that the military goes through, allows them to be better equipped for these type of situations. You know, I hate to say this. I don't think we need more police at schools, because I do think police in schools can present a problem for the students, right? Because I do think some of these police are very aggressive with these kids, just when breaking up fights and stuff. The kids, they fighting. Like, you don't need to go in there bum rushing, pulling out your guns and tasers for a high school fight, right? You just don't need to. I think a good idea that school districts may want to invest in, though, is they can have security who is never, their job is not to ever enter the school unless it's a school shooter situation, but they're kind of perimeter based. So they have that security car, and their job is to, for that school shift, is to drive the perimeter of that school. And those people are trained properly, ex-military possibly, and they have, you know, capable firearm as well as
before
what's the
Time
name?
out though. Challenge.
wait, I gotta say this one thing. Wait, before you close that out, but let me say this. I've worked at, because I taught for a quick second, I worked at a charter school, and maybe just because charter schools have their own kind of ways of engaging, but at charter school with high functioning special needs kids, right? They teach them how to restrain, and they teach them how to engage in certain ways. But you're telling me at high schools, no, seriously, at high schools where it's possibly to pop off, that they don't do the same thing? Like, you can't do the same thing? You can't have those same discussions?
So can I call the challenge flag on this one? I don't agree with Dewan's whole that we should take the police out of the schools.
No, I'm gonna tell you how this. Look at.
I didn't say take them out.
Listen,
I said
Linda.
adding more. Don't add more.
Listen. Before you go to any school, bro, you know how many doors I gotta get through? And I work for the government. I have to show my badge, right? Boom, show that badge. Respective badge. Where is damn badge at? Bow. They gotta buzz me in into the house, right? This is after Sunday Hill. Buzz me in, right? Boom. One door. Boom. Buzz me into another door. Then I gotta talk to some people. And for me to even access that school, I gotta get buzzed into another door. In Uvalde, none of that happened.
Well, he came in through the back.
Yeah.
Why was the doors opened?
But them gates don't even be high though. I mean, shit.
I don't care about a gate, bro. There's no door should be open, bro. I gotta get buzzed in 3 doors before I get into that damn school.
Okay, everybody always says that, Jeff. That's a good point. But let me just.
You know what happened? You know what happened on the goddamn movie when he said you smoke crack, don't you, boy? And they got mad if he put him charge on that goddamn door. You can't do that, bro.
No, but this the point about what you're saying though is this. So active shooters, okay, now I can't get buzzed into the school. What am I gonna do? Y'all gonna let them little kids out for lunchtime or recess?
Things not, bro.
But I'm saying though, at some point that you gotta let them out for lunch or recess. You got to let them out of school at the end of the day. You got to let them into the gym class. There's going to be a point in time where there's going to be a whole bunch of kids just sitting. What's the point of that?
What happened?
Don't do that.
I'm trying to figure it out myself.
Sound like you was going on fire and it just stopped.
He was about to. Dewan stopped you. What was you gonna say, Dewan? What are you doing?
Y'all know what he was about to say. Don't say
What you gonna say?
I'm trying to prevent somebody from complaining about what my brother is about to say, because he was about to make a valid point that people gonna have an issue with by him making that valid point. That's what
I'm just saying the truth. At some point, people are going to be sitting out, and an active shooter is just going to plan around it. There are some active shooters that are impulsive, right? But what's my man's name? And let's just take it out of the schools for a second. The black dude from that Dave Chappelle was talking about on his special.
You talking about Washington, D.C.?
No, the black dude from the sheriff's department that was killing other cops. They left his manifesto.
Yeah, the dude who lost a job and then they shot him 112 times in the mountains.
The Columbine kids, they planned that shit out. What I'm saying is that
but the Columbine kids, they can't use Columbine. People knew they was about to shoot up. They just
what I'm saying, they planned it out for hell long though. They were planning this shooting,
and people knew, but nobody reacted.
What I'm saying is that you got active shooters that will plan for this moment, some that will do impulsively. I don't know if we can get rid of that moment. Dewan was saying earlier, which I want to go back to, getting rid of police officers in the school. That serves more than one. That serves more than one purpose. Okay, you didn't say it, but you said minimize.
Putting words in my mouth, Fox News. I didn't say that. I said limit. I don't think adding more police to the schools is a solution. I didn't say take them away. I said not adding more.
Man,
to the discussion.
Damn it.
All I'm saying is that you can't.
I know high schools that I attended for a second. They had metal detectors, so I don't know where that went away.
But you know what? Hold on. Channel flag on Parrish first.
Episode about to be over.
Parrish, you full of shit, and this is why you full of shit. I work at the school that you are currently a dean at. And last time I checked, I was the fucking man in the streets. Plain and simple. So
what
all
does
I'm
that have
saying
to do with high schools having metal detectors?
My impact on the campus is something that your school hasn't had since I left.
You can have flag? Oh, you have to end this flag on that one. You can have
police officers on campus that are very impactful. And in a high school setting, the reason why and in an elementary school you need it, DeJuan, last time I checked, we got to have you a nice house, right? You're gonna live in a nice area, right? So do you want the police to respond if somebody come breaking your shit?
No, hey. I'm gonna
everybody needs the police.
I didn't say we didn't need the
yeah, that's a good thing. We do need the police.
But I'm saying, if you have them in the schools, if you have them in the schools, you can build better relationships.
That's better. No, I'm gonna tell you something.
You could.
No, I'm saying something that Jacoby said is really important. Me and DeJuan had a really great officer at our campus. Great guy.
Yeah.
You know who that is. He's a great guy.
I talk about him all the time.
Kazi's a great guy. And he never was on some bullshit. He never was on some like, I'm the police. He never was on any of that. He was like, y'all can be whatever y'all want. Police, firefighters, whatever. But he had a good relationship with us. He never like tried to pull our cars. He never was being disrespectful to us. He never did any of that. So I do understand what Jacoby's saying when it comes to that, though.
Hey, I got a quick story about Kazi, right? So it was my senior year. Y'all know I had the 70 Le Mans, right? Green, Le Mans with the black line on top, right? Right? Sound like a beast. So I had just had a situation with some of my enemies.
Before you was gangbanging or after you was gangbanging?
This was during this was I was still gang adjacent, right? So I had just had a situation where I got into a fisticuffs with some dudes who went.
I wasn't involved,
right?
Mama. I wasn't there. Mama, I wasn't there.
So Officer Kazi, our school resource officer, came to me and he was like, "Hey, I just seen such and such. They over there surrounding your car. You got issues with them?" I'm like, damn, right? Because they come to get me because we just had a situation. So he was like, "Where your keys at?" Gave my keys. Now I gotta go to football practice, right? So technically, I'm not gonna go to my car for hours anyway because we got football practice. You gotta hurry up and run and go to football practice any damn way. So come the end of football practice. Well, before practice was over, Kazi came over there when we was out there and said, "Hey, your car is now on campus." He moved my car onto the school parking lot. So I had to go to the student section parking lot where there's possibly with some cats waiting on me. So that's a good resource officer. Jacoby, not all resource officers are going to be like you. We've had incidents in various schools where kids were fighting and the police officers on campus got extra aggressive. I'm not saying remove the police because if I have an issue, I got to shoot them up bang bangs. So you come to my house, I got like a lightweight fortress. However, I'm still going to call 911 because I expect you to do your job, protect and serve me. No, I'm saying adding more of the wrong, putting more of the wrong anything around kids can traumatize kids.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And that's something that these supervisors got to live with when they make their decisions. But I will say this, that not every kid in the school, right? Because we're talking about how police interacted from the law enforcement standpoint, but not every kid that you interact with is going to become a law enforcement officer, right? When you're in a school setting, you got future doctors, lawyers, politicians, possibly presidents, possibly gang members, possibly criminals, everything in that setting. We don't know what's going to bring. You got everything in there. What I will say is that it is important that law enforcement officers maintain a good, positive presence on these campuses because as we're building tomorrow's leaders, your interaction with them is going to be very, very important on how they view your job in the future. If you do bullshit, if you're a bullshit cop, then when they want to take things away from you and reform police, it's because they're going to be like, I had a school resource officer or an interaction with a police officer and he wasn't shit. Take all their stuff away from them. They don't know what they're doing. So when I'm out there and my thing for other officers that are in the schools, that's the moment where you make your most key interactions and relationships there. You are part of water on a seed that's going to grow into something that could be very, very important to how the world looks for your children and generations to come. So you got to pay it forward in that situation. That would be my hope for all officers in the schools. Obviously, we know that, there have been YouTubes and things that show us that's not necessarily true, but I hope that that would be the thing that happens with school resource officers moving forward.
Follow us at Braspective on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your family members. If you feel like we be talking some BS and you want to come on here and argue with us, come on, let us know. Send us a message. You can Gmail us or email us at braspective@gmail.com. We appreciate the followers. Like, subscribe. We'll catch y'all on the next Get Down.
Yay.